Hi, everyone. So, I had another huge gift that came out of the reunion of a few weeks ago that I want to share with you today. One of the biggest things, in case you haven't seen my other YouTube video where I talk about my transformational journey, and I basically had to go through all of these circumstances that most people would deem as bad or horrible or terrifying, etc. And yes, my ego did decide to, conclude some of that too. But there was something in me that was awake at that time that had me keep going forward and keep being in discovery and keep opening up more and more into the love that I am, into the love of the journey that I am. And what was wild is I got to share this journey with people that had known me before the journey started. And in fact, the journey started about 3 years after I was with these people. And so I had to go through so much trauma, or classified as trauma. Everything from being given 6 months to live, to being homeless, to losing my entire life savings, to having no access to money or credit, or jobs or income, or, and just wild, wacky type experiences that were all designed perfectly to awaken me out of everything that created them so I could be free. And what I realized when I was telling the story to people that had known me before that was I was watching everybody's reactions to me telling them the story. And I realized it was sort of like this awakening to, it's not actually the circumstances that are bad. It's the meaning that we make about the circumstance. And this isn't just circumstances we've lived. These are circumstances we're afraid of living. There's so many things out there that you're like, I can't do this so that this will never happen. I will not go down this road because that will protect me from this happening. And I lived that. I lived that total control environment for so long. I did everything I could to make sure I was financially stable, and the one thing I couldn't anticipate is my entire life savings being stolen from me right after I quit my corporate job and was like jumping off a ledge to start my own business. Not something that you can plan to avoid, But the craziest part about all of it is it was the hugest gift, because I use money to avoid. I use money to avoid everything that my consciousness had deemed unacceptable, bad, terrible, don't go there, don't feel this. The last thing you want to do is feel anger, sadness, pain, or sorrow, or terror or fear. So control your life so carefully to make sure that you never create a circumstance that would bring that about. But here's the realization. It wasn't the circumstance that created all of that anxiety and all of that terror and all of that avoidance energy. It was all the stories about the circumstances, all the meaning we put on the circumstances, everything, all those stories and beliefs about the loss of money. Can you think of 4 different stories or beliefs you might create about that? For example, I had a story that I'd never be taken care of again. If I didn't amass a massive amount of money and live off of it for the rest of my life, I'd never be taken care of. It's a story. It's not true. It's just a story. And that story controlled me for a long time. And I'm free of it. I get to be free of it. And so do you. And so when I was sharing these stories and seeing people's reactions, I realized it was very important to separate the story about the circumstance from the circumstance itself, because it's not the circumstance. Every circumstance, there can be a way to perceive the circumstance as a huge gift, and there's a way to perceive the circumstances as the worst possible nightmare you could live through. Perceptions are choices, and we can choose whichever perception we want. which means basically neither of them are true. Neither it's a gift or it's a terror is true. It's just a choice of how to be with that circumstance. And so what if we could free ourselves from trying to avoid grief or loss because of grief, or we're like heartache because we don't want to feel the pain of it, or the fear of being in a situation that we can't control because we think control is the answer to everything. And yes, I used to believe that. So not anymore. So what if we could totally free ourselves and be in the consciousness of the observer, the consciousness of the awareness of the stories and the beliefs, instead of in the consciousness of the belief and in the consciousness of the story? Because when we're living the story and we're living the belief, we're trapped by it. And now we're trying to maneuver because of that. And when we move out of it and we move above and beyond the perceptions that create the stories, that create the beliefs, now you're free. Now you're in choice. And now you don't have to be afraid of a circumstance, because any circumstance can be an amazing adventure, no matter what it looks like. And so what if we could all embrace all of the circumstances of our lives with so much unconditional love, and we could love ourselves for everything that we might have blamed or decided or felt guilty about that created those circumstances, and just go, I love you so much. You did the best you could. And you did an amazing job, and thank you. And it's okay. The being I am, that's beyond all time, beyond all space, beyond all form, can love and navigate anything. And we are more resilient than we know. So what if we stopped avoiding and started living? And that's my invitation to you. Come live your life to the fullest and join me in being free. Love you all. Bye.